Hi guys, Elle here. Time for another tarot card video, and it's a Five of Wands. Marseille style. Waite Smith style. So this is one of my favorite cards. I love the Five of Wands. It can be a difficult card, but it serves a purpose, and it's a really fun card. It's like life itself or something. I think the key to understanding the Five of Wands comes with understanding the number 5. I think it's sort of vital. It's the farthest from source, from spirit, the number 5, right? In the series of 1 to 10. 1 and 10 really sort of being the same thing, but being unity and spirit, and 5 falling in the center, right in the center of the 1 to 9, being completion at the 9. It's cold there. It's the harsh physical world. It's also going back to where we left off last time with the Four of Wands, right? That structure, that stability, that community, working together for the greater good, all those ideas. That Four of Wands can lead to a place of stillness, not necessarily in a negative way, but a point of stillness and security. So when we have the 4 of the physical world, the material world, the 4 elements, all of that, and you add the 1, you add spirit, literally, to the equation, you have the 5, spirit in matter. Spirit doesn't like to be still. It likes to move. It likes to go. It likes to grow. It hates stillness. It likes to evolve. It needs it. You know, that 5, man, it works against our own comfort. And anyway, that comfort can become restrictive, you know, if we're not actively struggling in some way. On top of it, regardless of that, there's always going to be this chaos and this upheaval when spirit crashes up against the harsh reality of the material world and all its limitations. Anyway, whether this drive to shake things up is some sort of an inner impulse, or whether it's influence of the planets and the stars or some other random source, you know, wherever it's coming from, it will happen. That's life. That's how it works. Have you ever had those brief moments in life, right, where you're like, everything is easy right now. I've taken care of everything I need to take care of. My life is perfectly scheduled and perfectly ordered. And how fucking long does that shit last, right? Not very fucking long. You know, something always comes along to shake things up and put a little struggle, a little bit of pain back into your life. And that's the Five of Wands. With the Five of Wands, challenges will come. You know, in the story of the Suit of Wands, like thus far, we have created something basically in the physical world, and that in turn invites a response back. No matter how you look at it, it'll happen. Challenges will come, whether to a you know, a ridiculous and great extent, or just little things, and it's a good thing. You know, you need to feed your soul, to feed your spirit, and it's hungry for experience. You know, that's the vehicle by which we evolve, through which we grow, through struggle, through experience, through pain sometimes, and conflict and challenge and all those things. And thus enters the Golden Dawn strife and the Rider-Waite Smith competition. You can see how they all sort of fit into this idea. And also the older meaning of the card gold. How does that fit in? Really, it's a metaphor for alchemical gold and for the alchemical process. It's all about, you know, liberating the gold, that spiritual gold, the spiritual sun, you know, the pure from the base, the dross, the lead, the gold from the rock. And it's the perfect metaphor for the Five of Wands. You know, the Five of Wands is the refiner's fire in a way. And it's a violent process. This burning away, to reveal the gold. You know, it's a stripping away, burning away of what is unnecessary, and then, you know, so that gold can rise to the surface and they can be separated. And that whole process, that's really what's happening here in the Five of Wands. You know, that's how we attain the gold. That's how we attain illumination, liberation. It's through challenge, through suffering, through conflict, through our experiences, through our trials and errors, and through that struggle. But it's only after that we are able to reap the rewards, which is, you know, evolution and that growth. Now, this whole mess of a situation can sort of be dealt with in two ways. And just like kind of how the five can manifest in two ways too. You have you have spirit able to dominate and control the material life. And then vice versa. It's the other way to deal with it, where it's not exactly matter dominating spirit, but, you know, where material concerns become more important than spiritual values, kind of thing. And I don't know, this may be why in a lot of books people place so much emphasis and so much importance on ideas like individuality and standing out in a crowd, because the world tries constantly to tell us, or to convince us really, that the illusion that we live in is reality. You know, that the only thing that is real is what we can see and touch. And you get sucked into this way of thinking, into this world view that the majority has adopted, right? And that's why we have to be self-directed. That's why we have to be self-empowered. That's why we need to be like active interpreters of our own reality, because you want to see through that illusion, you know, to the truth. Because then you'll also understand that when conflict and challenges arise, you'll be able to see that they serve a purpose. So one of the messages of this card really is that you need to stay vigilant in trying to understand the meaning behind your experiences, behind your circumstances, to understand the people around you and their behavior, and, you know, cut to the heart of it. What is really going on there? You need to look at those things, and this card reminds you of that. It says you can't be a passive observer of your life. You can't sleepwalk through life, as Christine Payne Tyler says. Always love that. You know, with this card, you are challenged in some way to go beyond your own limitations, to go beyond your own fears, to go beyond your own self-doubt. And you'll be surprised at the rewards you reap. When I look at this card, one of the things that I'm often reminded of is how it feels to learn something new, to be put into that situation. You can even see, like, when you first started learning tarot, when you were reading for someone else for the first time, it's fucking painful, it's uncomfortable, it's awkward, it's embarrassing. It made me angry, you know, all those things. But eventually, with more experience, it gets more comfortable. Going through the same thing now, just being in front of the camera. You can force yourself fucking through it. And it's just bad at first, you know, it's terrible, it's uncomfortable. But, you know, at the end, by the end, you've sort of acquired a new skill. Look at that. That's huge. That's a big reward. And though it felt completely overwhelming at the time, it really isn't that big a deal to be embarrassed and to be uncomfortable and to be in a bit of pain and to be in an awkward situation. And a lot of times I think the Five of Wands does come down to that. It's just kind of small. It's small shit, though it feels big. So anyway, these challenges that may appear in your life, they can manifest in lots and lots of different ways, from big to small, depending on what the reading is about, you know. Very often, and I'm sure you've seen this written in lots and lots of books, I know I have, but it definitely can be talking about, you know, dealing with the frustrating, mundane difficulties, the demands of daily life. And this challenge is in dealing with that and recognizing those simple difficulties, and through the whole thing, maintaining a certain clarity of focus, a certain mindfulness, a certain awareness of yourself and your goals. And one of the lessons there would just be, living in the moment. Sometimes it just represents that there is an atmosphere of tension, of fighting and arguing, whether it's in a situation or in a relationship. Sometimes there's actual, literal forces that are opposing you, or people that are opposing you, or that are actively challenging you. And sometimes the challenge is often just to stand up for what you believe in. Again, back to that idea of standing out in a crowd and being individualized. Especially in a situation where, if you do stand up for what you believe in, you would be met with opposition. You see how it just manifests at different levels in life, the same big energy. Love it. Whatever the situation is, you have in some way been challenged to adapt, challenged to grow. And after this struggle, you will reap the rewards. Sometimes with this card, an opportunity is presented to you, or will come across your path, or something like that. That will seem challenging, and it's one of those moments where it's like, take it, it's worth it, get through it. It won't be easy, but the reward outweighs the negative. The positive outweighs the negative. The Five of Wands can also represent a time where any sort of sublimated anger or repressed issues or pain or oppression that you've been burying will erupt, because shit erupts with this card anyway. It boils to the surface, so you can cook out what is unnecessary. So yeah, it may just be representing a time when this is going to happen, or all these things I'm saying, by the way, they are possibilities when you're reading, when this card comes up, yes. But they'll also present themselves in conjunction with your intuition at the moment, in conjunction with whatever you literally see on the card before you, and in relation to all the cards around them. I think a lot of times when I'm reading the things that I say in these videos, that it's not like that comes out verbatim during a reading. Sometimes yes, but sometimes it feels as though it has nothing to do with the meaning of the card that I'm talking about here, even though in some way I'm sure it does. But yeah, side note. All right, moving on. Five of Wands reversed. So the Five of Wands reversed can represent a temptation. I threw my card. So the Five of Wands reversed can represent like a temptation, or something that distracts you and sort of pulls you down a little bit. Pulls you away from your higher purpose, from your personal goals or your creative goals. It can also be like not accepting whatever challenge has been presented to you. You put it off, or you're trying to ignore it. It's probably not going to work. You need to deal with it. It can also, I feel like, in a way, denote a certain amount of passivity, where the upright really encourages activity. This is like being overly receptive. And here you're so passive that you're missing the point of things. You're missing the meaning. You're not seeing how this challenge that you're faced with is a good thing if you can just get through it. It's just like, oh, one more fucking thing. That kind of sitting back in your chair, letting life pass you by, sort of. I don't think it means like a depression or anything like that. It's just a reminder to be an active interpreter of your own reality. It can indicate a certain amount of passivity, you know, that it's just a passive approach to life in general. And sort of along the same lines, it can even be that person that feels trapped, or you're feeling trapped. And that person, probably because they're feeling trapped by the material world, you know, that spirit crashing up against the limitations of the physical world. That's that manifestation into the psyche there. But because they feel that way, they are argumentative, they are angry, they're just frustrated in general. It can also indicate being kind of a sheep, you know, following the herd, not speaking your own mind, speaking your own opinions, going after what you want in your heart, you know, what your passion really is. You may have even, you know, given in to the more base impulses, you know, lust and ambition and all those kinds of things. Either way, you're sort of lost in illusion. You know, you're lost in the illusion of what you think your life is. And you have this sort of a warped point of view with the Five of Wands reversed sometimes. It can also indicate, you know, in a relationship or in an environment, such as a work environment or something like that, just an overwhelmingly competitive environment, you know, some kind of thing where it's like every man for himself, no one's working together, everyone's sort of at odds, on edge, that kind of thing. The Five of Wands reversed. One more with the Five of Wands reversed. It can sometimes come up as like, you know, you realizing you were wrong because you learned the lesson of the challenge. It just came a little late. You're a little late to the party. Maybe because you were having a hard time implementing these changes that you were challenged to make. Does that make sense? You know, it can have to do with regretting your recent behavior, kind of thing. You need to apologize. You are apologizing. You recognize the lesson. You just learned it a little late. Okay, I got a few cards to show you. I already showed you the Rider-Waite-Smith. I didn't really talk about it too much though. You know, it's not a life or death battle. It's a battle with wands. It's a competition. It's a fake fight. All those things you read about. But the number one thing that I always drawn to when I look at this card is the fact that their hearts clearly really aren't in it. They really are kind of play fighting. And it always leads me to think that it's not life or death. It's not a big deal. These problems and these challenges, really, though they feel so overwhelming, are really small and easily overcome for the most part. And then the Five of Wands, the classic Five of Wands in the Marseille. This is the Jodorowsky. I love in his book, actually, the way he describes the Five of Wands. I'll never forget it. It's wonderful. He talks about like these two different temptations, and he utilizes the two major arcana that have the five, you know, the Pope and the Devil. And he said there's those two temptations, there's two paths. That's sort of what I see when I look at the card, the two paths. Also the four elements and spirit. I see that. But yeah, if you take like the path of the Pope, it has to do with sublimating this sexual energy through meditation, even, I think he says, and that leads to spiritual illumination. That's like the path of the Pope. But you could also take the path of the Devil, which would be just throwing yourself, completely immersing yourself in every desire that you have, really going there. And how, in the end, it can sort of lead to spiritual illumination as well, because though you're sort of indulging your desires, at the same time you're breaking every habit that existed beforehand. It's interesting. Okay, here is one of my favorite cards. This is from Tarot of the Holy Light, the Five of Wands. Can you see that? And this card speaks of, there's so much going on. It's representative of the alchemical process, but in that everything is prima materia, and we just don't see it. Everything is an opportunity for growth. Everything is potential gold. Every experience, everything around us, everything in us, and you see the workings of nature. And she talks about this mercurial crystal or whatever it is in the center being representative of the human imagination, and how we can interpret our reality like that, like everything is potential gold. Love the Mary L too. I want this like tattooed on my arm. It is just power, it is energy, it is the strength to get through anything and everything. It is your inner lion, and it is beautiful. Reach out and grab it. Okay, this is my card that I made. That's my own personal Five of Wands from my own deck. There's a woman meditating at the bottom, and she is in darkness, and she's spiritually, I guess you could say, sort of gets lighter and lighter as she throws off the layers and becomes pure gold. It's a very alchemical looking card to me. I really love that take on the Five of Wands. There's even like rocks crumbling on the side here, and the Queen of the Heaven, or Mother Moon and Father Sun on the two sides. This is in the world. She's down here in nature, sitting here, and all these processes are taking place, within her. Oh, I got a couple cards here that are volcanoes. We talked about how things erupt in this card. This is from the Daughters of the Moon, and that's the Five of Wands, is it here? Oh, Five of Flames, and that's Pele, the volcano Hawaiian goddess herself. And I think the volcano erupting is just beautiful metaphor also for the alchemical process. It's violent, it's upheaval, it's challenging to get through. But you also see a volcano erupting on Malaita's deck. That's the Tabula Mundi, Caloris Arcus. Don't you just love to say the name of that deck? Say that. Tabula Mundi, Caloris Arcus. Just rolls off the tongue. Anyway, that is a Persian deity who I forget the name of. Zervan, something like that. But you see behind him the same kind of thing, a volcano erupting. He's also himself actually represented like the four creatures on the world card, the four elements. He's man, lion, bull, and an eagle. And he's surrounded by a serpent, and there's scythes. Oh, there's so much going on in these cards. These cards are amazing. His hands are even clenched, pressure. And that's what the card is, it's this force under pressure, seeking release, seeking growth. What else is here? Oh, I like this guy. This is the Osho Zen. The keyword there is, what is it? Totality. And this card takes more of that approach where it's that mindfulness that we were talking about, that stay in the moment, that stay present, and stay active in your world. This is the way through the challenges also, just to stay present, to stay mindful, and just moment to moment. That's the advice with that card. And that keeps you whole, total. I love, there's no way you're going to be able to do anything and to do it fully, especially something like doing the, performing on the trapeze or climbing. You have to have this focus, this clarity, this being completely present, and you should take that with you into everything you do, and that's one of the messages of this card for sure. One more. This is the Raven's Prophecy, Five of Wands. I should have pulled the other one. If you were to look at the Four of Wands, the card for this, you would see 4 upright candles just burning safely. This is not safe. This is the challenge come to spice things up and burn away what is unnecessary and what is old, and to help you grow and evolve and create something new. but this is the fire in between. That sucks. Alright guys, that was my explanation of the Five of Wands. I hope that made some sort of sense. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys real soon. Bye! Sharpening tarot cards.